there are almost double the amount of people living alone compared with 40 years ago.
And I don't have anybody to go, you're fine, we'll do this together.
Britain is a lonely place to live.
It's just a black hole. I feel empty all the time.
We're now one of the loneliest places to live in Europe.
Do we really care what happens next door? Do we really understand what happens over the road?
Most of us don't even know our neighbour's first name.
Nobody would notice if I disappeared, and just feeling like you have nobody to share life with, really.
You kind of look at it and go, well, there's nothing wrong with them, so you turn your back.
Why am I so alone all the time? And it fates doom.
There are people suffering in silence all over the country.
Nobody can tell you how it really feels, because there's no word to express it.
Makes me think of my grandparents, what they went through when, you know, my grandmother lost my granddad, all those times she must have spent at home.
But since he went, I just can't cope.
I'm convinced the answer lies in the community. We could all make a huge difference here. So I'm recruiting a few friends to take me back to the communities where they grew up.
And the people.
To find out if a bit of good old community spirit can make a real and lasting difference.
We need laughter back in our lives.
We just have a giggle and that makes it.
It's going to become easier.
More than I expected, really.
And making me happy to know that I'm doing something to help somebody.
In our busy lives, just for 1 minute, just give a damn about somebody else. Barrow is the gateway to the Lake District. It was once the biggest iron and steel centre in the world and had a flourishing shipbuilding industry. Those days may have gone, but it also has another claim to fame. It's the hometown of the hairy biker Dave Myers, and that's why I'm here. Dave has agreed to help me meet the locals and to get them talking. His family have lived in the area for generations, and Dave stayed here until the age of 19. Having achieved fame through his hairy biker series and other programmes, he returned to his roots with his family.
I came back about 10 years ago, which was a soft option for me because I knew everybody, I knew I'd settle into the community.
So, looking down it, what do you think's changed over the years?
I'll tell you what hasn't changed, though, James. This red kind of pebble dash pavement. Yeah, but they're all cracked now, and they're old, a bit like myself. But when I was a kid, the year that this was laid was the year I got roller skates for Christmas. I can remember the smell of drying tarmac and my rubber wheels going like lightning up the street. Things like that are magical. And, you know, the pavements might be a bit cracked now, but I'd love to think the community spirit was still here. Hello. Hi.
So what was life like as a kid growing up here?
Right, the back street was a playground.
Yeah.
Everybody's backyard gate opened onto the back street, so the kids are in and out of each other's yards. I'd spend hours and hours on my bicycle going, you know, to the bottom of the top of the back street. As the years went on, I was allowed to venture further.
Well, this is it. I think this is your old house.
Gosh, yeah, it's been painted.
Has it?
88, yeah.
What's changed then?
I remember once when my father painted this bright green,
right,
and he sat up there in bed, and there was two old ladies who were here, and they were just basically explaining what a blooming awful colour they thought he painted the house. And he was knocking on the window. He was absolutely furious.
So did you know everybody around here?
Pretty much, yes. I mean, there was an old lady who lived on her own, Mrs. Morgan, lived next door. And my mum would always, on baking day, you know, give her a cake or a loaf. And there was the Baines boys over there. Well, they had the chip shop, you see, so that was a certain currency.
Right.
You know, they owned the chipper. And, of course, there was the corner shops, Newbies, Sturgeons. You get the sense that there was a huge sense of community here.
So was the corner shops on each of these corners then, more or less?
Yeah, and you can kind of see the scars, like where they've got, like, modern brick there. That's where the shop windows have been bricked in, probably in the 1970s.
And do you think the community's kind of divided and split because of jobs? Because now people are having to travel further afield to get more work, so they're not around as much as they used to be?
I personally think it's changing times. You know, Barrow had a really bad time in the 90s, you know, with unemployment. It's bounced back, you know, pretty well. Always has been an element of poverty in the town. It's a working class town. In 1830, Barrow had something like 30, 40 houses. By 1870, there was 40,000. So this influx of people to work in the shipyards, there's always been some people fall by the wayside. But in olden times, I think there was always somebody to pick you up, you know.
Well, I'm hoping that today we can gather some of the community that are around together and improve things for the better.
I want to create an event similar to what we did in Wolverhampton, like a street party. And Dave is the perfect person to get the local community behind it.
You've got a few doors to knock on. Yeah. I've got a few people to see, so you go that way, and I'm going to go that way.
All right, James.
And we'll join for fish and chips later.
Excellent. Hello. Hello. Pleased to meet you too. Hello, Betty. It's lovely to meet you. I used to be your neighbour years ago.
You did?
I did, just over there. This was the first community I knew. And we're wondering, is it the same as it used to be?
No.
No.
You don't know your neighbours like you used to.
Really?
Yeah.
Every New Year's Eve, the whole of the street used to go to a party at the local club, but there's not none of that now, really.
I only know about 6 people up the street.
We're doing a thing later on. It's about communities. We're going to have a bit of a street party.
Oh, yeah?
Between 4 o'clock and 6. I've got James Martin coming.
Oh, well.
Do you only know 6 people in the street?
Yeah.
Maybe at the end of this, if you come, you might know a dozen. Didn't this house used to be a corner shop? Was
That's
it
right,
Mrs.
yes,
Sturgeon?
Mrs.
Mrs.
Sturgeon's.
Sturgeon's.
Yes.
Yeah.
4.5 years we had it as a shop, and we closed it down and made it into a big house.
It's a fact of life that communities change, but sometimes people get left behind. Dorothy has lost her husband and daughter, and 4 years ago, her only son died suddenly, leaving Dorothy in the house on her own.
And how have you been coping since then? Because
I'm not coping, to be honest, but since he went, I just can't cope. Well, I'm trying to. I don't have cleaners or anything. I do everything myself. I do all my own washing, but it's loneliness.
But it seems to me that you've always had people around you.
I have. I've always mixed.
Then over the last, well, since 4 years ago, when your son passed away.
That's been it, yes.
It's been
lonely.
Dorothy's isolation is compounded by her failing eyesight. She has a tumour in her left eye and is partially blind in her right. With the loss of her family, she's increasingly isolated and finds that there's no one she can turn to, even for an occasional chat.
I stand at my front door. I don't see anybody. I go for 3 and 4 days or more sometimes, and I don't see a soul.
When do you find it difficult?
I find it difficult when I'm going uptown because with having only the one eye and that, and the other eye's not really perfect. And you think you're somewhere and you find out you're not, you know. It's strange. It's just odd things that are strange, really.
You find it difficult to get around because you can't see or?
I can't see properly. I can see silhouettes,
right.
And I can't go on the bus or anything like that. And most of my friends who I used to go around and see and all that, they've all got a lot of Alzheimer's. So they're not, you know, they're not the same people they used to be.
Dorothy is a wonderful lady who has a fascinating life story. She could just do with someone to share it with from time to time.
What was the dance troupe you were in then?
Edna Parkinson's dancing troupe.
Right.
And
that was good times?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah?
We went, as I say, we travelled like 3, 4 places.
Yeah.
And that whole, when the war was on, we were in the whole.
And what were you into? Were you into?
Tap dancing.
Tap dancing, right, okay.
Toe dancing. Oh, I don't know. See, I can't see.
That, I think that's your, yeah, that's your son and your husband.
Is that?
In here. Before you bought this fancy sofa.
One of the consequences of Dorothy's failing eyesight is she can hardly cook for herself.
Are you okay looking after yourself?
I am. I have dinners that they put in the microwave.
Do you find it easy getting the shopping? Cause
no, I have to ask somebody to help me.
Right.
Because I can't see dates on tins. And to tell you the truth, I opened a tin of dog meat instead of a tin of soup the other day.
You didn't try it, did you?
I did. No, I didn't.
Did you?
And of course, I thought that's strange.
It's a bit of a...
So I said, and that's why I do. I laugh about some things that happen.
But loneliness has more serious consequences than just having no one to talk to.
One of the impacts of being lonely and then perhaps getting depressed is that you don't fall back on good habits that keep you healthy. So, for instance, your eating or the way that you exercise or whatever else. So you can actually make things worse because you've lost motivation and you've lost really the will to make an effort. Just for me, it doesn't seem worth it. And then actually, you're not really getting the nutrients and the good quality of life you need to be healthy.
Despite all of her problems, Dorothy still manages to keep a smile on her face.
I've had a wonderful life. It's only now at old age, which is something nobody can run away from, can they? And then we'd like to, but we can't. And you find out it's a very lonely life.
Dorothy is such great company, and I can't help but feel there are people in the area who would love to spend time with her. Back on the street, and Dave has found a new friend.
Hello, I'm Dave.
Dave's new best mate, Gordon, has got an Aladdin's cave in his shed. If you're a hairy biker, that is.
You see, what a man, he's got a carpet on his garage floor. Wow! Is that a Douglas dragonfly?
Dragonfly there.
Gosh, do you know my dad did his courting with my mother on one of them?
That's been rebuilt, of course.
Yes. Wow,
This is-
AGS, how old's that one?
1927.
The flat tank.
Flat tank, and we use it for Christmas, Father Christmas.
Aye.
It lights up.
Ah, for Christmas. Hey, fantastic. We're having a bit of a street party. Between 4 and 6 o'clock.
I believe, yeah.
You're going to come?
I'm going to try and come.
And bring the family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
What an amazing fella. And it just goes to show you never know what's going to be there when you knock on a door. It's lovely. I haven't been down here for a while, but I'm loving it.
It seems to me that Dave's having a jolly down memory lane. The community shop's been here since he lived in the area.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Dave.
Pleased to meet you, Pauline.
Pleased to meet you, Pauline.
Thank you.
By heck, this has changed.
It
Do you know,
has, hasn't
I
it?
used to have a paper around here when it was What's the Newsagents.
Oh, yes.
What's happening now?
Well, Mr. Watts retired, so the community took it over.
Right.
And we're running it as a community shop and a community centre. We run a community association which helps people. Then we have a youth club. So anything that people have got problems, if they can't solve them, they normally get sent down here. Go and see Pauline, she'll sort it for you.
Pauline, I've got a favour to ask. I've got James Martin coming to the town. We want to get together and have a bit of a street party just to bring people together. And what if you'd help us?
Yes, certainly I would. If it's anything to do with community, I will be the helper.
4 o'clock this afternoon, it's a date.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
very
Pauline.
much,
See you
Dave.
later.
Bye.
It's a date.
For most people, loneliness is about relationships they've lost. But for some people, it's about relationships they've never found. Brian, a writer, is 73, and for his entire adult life, he's lived alone.
Mr. Martin.
Hello, Brian. Nice to meet you. You all right?
OK.
Good. Now, tell me about you. Have you met somebody in your life? Have you ever been married? Kids?
Well, I sure willing. I try now and again. But I'm not the guy who gets the girl. I've never been married. I know that throughout my life there's been a recurring situation where I find myself staring at a piece of paper and asking, why am I so alone all the time? Why does it always end up with me being by myself alone again? And it feels like fate, doom or whatever. Strange. The feeling that you can't communicate with people or that you have difficulty with it. Can feel like kind of self-created prison. And you fully realise, almost as if for the first time, that you are alone. And it's a terrifying feeling.
Sat in here, you've just got your seat, your fireplace, your books around you.
Yeah.
It's just you.
You have to make the best of it. And you can do this in various ways. By putting on a Byronic attitude and giving 2 fingers to the rest of the world. And go to hell, rest of the world.
The trouble is, Brian's way of coping could be making matters worse.
Sometimes people who stick 2 fingers up at the world have been doing it all their lives and are very happy doing it. Yeah. But sometimes it's a defence mechanism, isn't it? Because it's like saying, I don't need you. But actually, when you close your door at mid-afternoon and that's it for the day, you realise that's just me, the telly, and my cup of tea. That's quite a lonely place to be.
I think if people have been rejected, you can do one of 2 things. You can internalise it and feel really bad about yourself, or you can say, the world doesn't get me and the world is a problem and I'm okay. And that can make you feel better in yourself. The problem with that is that you're going to create more social distance between you and other people. And the fact is, if that man is bothered and upset enough to talk about it as loneliness, then it's having an impact. But it can be really difficult to ask for help. It can be really difficult to admit you're not self-reliant, that we need others, partly because we're socialised to be able to hack it on our own.
When was the last time you cooked something for yourself that wasn't out of a packet?
Well, we'd have to go back into ancient history, really. I can't remember.
Brian's reluctance to maintain a healthy diet is not unusual. Not only do some elderly people regularly struggle with opening jars, packets and cartons, many, like Brian, eat a poorly balanced diet. In fact, it's estimated that 1.3 million people over 65 have such a poor diet that they're actually malnourished. This has serious consequences for their health.
It makes people less mobile, it makes them more at risk of falls, and if they do fall, they're more at risk of injuring themselves. Injuries are less likely to heal if somebody's not well nourished. It increases the likelihood of being admitted to hospital. It increases your length of stay when you're in hospital. So the problems of that are quite enormous.
And how would you feel if I cooked something for you that I think you could easily do at home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you like that?
Yeah. Well, by all means.
Something that's not difficult, takes probably 10 minutes
to
make.
I never refuse help.
After looking in Brian's kitchen, I realised that his diet is even worse than I feared. So after a bit of shopping, it's time to expand his taste buds. So Brian, I'm going to make you something that hopefully will convince you that it's worth your while.
Tell me all about it.
So I bought you a chopping board.
Yeah.
I've got you a little blender, so everything you can make in this little blender. It's a really simple little soup.
I've never used a blender before.
Well, you've got one now. So onion, first of all. What do you normally do for soup? Out of a tin?
Out of a tin, everything out of a tin.
Chop up the onion. Ready? And I'm going to use butternut squash for this. Have you ever tasted this stuff?
What's that?
Butternut squash.
No, I haven't.
Now, the secret with this is you can just use whatever you want. You can have carrots, you can have potato, you can have leeks. And all you need to do is get some water. A bit of water. And bring this to the boil.
I've been home alone for an evening, and all I can be bothered to do is eat the beans out of a tin. I mean, not every time, but that has happened. And if someone's coming round, I'll probably make a bit of an effort with a pie crust. And I think that sort of mindset is, I only deserve baked beans out of a tin, but if my friend comes round, I'll make something nicer, is that we don't necessarily value ourselves, because we're taught that, you know, we put ourselves last and we must be nice to other people. But really, we really should make the effort to look after ourselves.
Right, we're nearly there. A bit of butter in there.
Yeah.
A touch of cream.
Yes.
And all we do now, just stick it in there. And also, once you've made it, you could stick it in the freezer, pop it in the fridge. Tell me what you think.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I like that.
You like that?
Mm-hmm.
That's better than any ready-made meal.
Yeah.
It's not bad, though, is it? Brian's such an intriguing and interesting guy to speak to. But like many people his age, he's almost trapped in a little world, and that world is getting smaller and smaller. He clearly doesn't look after himself enough. Whether he'll accept the help that I'm hopefully going to try and find for him is another matter. I really want Brian to come to the street party later, so I can introduce him to some other locals. But all that hinges on how well Dave is doing on the street. So how's it been going?
It's been amazing, actually. I would say it's been like a jacuzzi of nostalgia.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know, it is wonderful. And what I have found when I've been knocking on people's doors, that the people are there. The community spirit's there. The people I grew up with are there. But certain things aren't. Times have changed.
So what's the plan? Have you come up with a plan?
People around here are really friendly.
Yeah.
All it takes is a little bit of a push, a little bit of love to get people together, and I think we can forge relationships that'll last for a long time. But I have a secret weapon, James.
What's that then?
My mate, Pauline.
Oh, Pauline. How are you doing, Pauline?
Nice to meet you, James.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So what, you live around here then?
Yes, I do.
Right.
I live right next door to our community centre now.
Right. She does more than just live here, James. You've got an amazing place.
Thank you.
So tell me about the community centre then.
The people that come in for help from us can be from a baby right up till 80, 90. And if they just want to talk or a friendly face, I'm there for them.
Pauline is a great asset to this community, so I'm really pleased to have her involvement in our street party. How many people you got planned coming?
Hopefully loads.
Yeah, we hope so.
Right. Yeah? So we're going to do it right here?
Yeah, why not?
OK. Now, I've met a wonderful, wonderful person yesterday.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for her to...
Say she needs help,
say she's...
yes.
But when we leave here today, I really like you to keep an eye
I
on
will
her.
try and look after her, yeah.
But it's amazing what you can do with a hot dinner and a friendly hello. It's amazing the change you can make to people's lives.
So we've got a lot to do.
We certainly have.
Fillings, sandwiches, buttering.
Bunting.
Yeah, bunting. You're in charge of bunting, chairs and tables. Now that we've got a plan for our event, Dave has gone out and about to drum up more support to get the community buzzing.
Hello, I'm Dave.
Hiya.
Hiya.
Debbie and Oliver.
Hello, Oliver.
Unsurprisingly, one of the residents even remembers Dave's family.
Hello.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, nice to see you.
And you? My sister used to live opposite you.
What was her name?
She was called Campbell, Mrs. Campbell.
Campbell.
She's living with 75.
All right. They've still got a lot of neighbours to meet.
Hiya.
I really want there to be a good turnout, young and old.
And we're going to have a bit of a party, a street party at 4 o'clock, like we used to do in the old days here. It's like speed dating, but for neighbours.
Speed dating for neighbours.
Yeah? Fancy coming?
Are we invited?
Yeah, of course
Shall we
you are.
go? Shall we go speed dating?
Right, I'll see you at 4 o'clock.
Right, go then. See you
Bye,
later.
Kate. Bye, Dave. Bye, Oliver.
Bye.
Bye, mate. Do you live here? What do you think of the community these days? Is it still good?
Yeah, everybody's friendly and gets on with everybody.
Yeah? When I was a kid and I lived here, the community was amazing. What's it like now?
It's so good. I love living around here. Everyone knows each other. All the kids
Yes.
play together.
Yes.
All play out.
So from a young mum, things haven't changed?
No.
Well, tonight, between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock, we're having a street party. I'll see you later.
See you later.
It looks like Dave's getting a great response for our get-together. But there's one resident I particularly want to invite.
Since meeting Dorothy last night, I've been thinking about her and about her situation and what I can do to help, really, if there's anything I can do to help. So I've gone to the supermarket, I've got a few bits and pieces, because clearly she's not, in my opinion, not looking after herself as much as she should do in terms of her health. So I think we need to have a chat. Well, I've got you a few bits and pieces, all right? So I've got you some bananas, a few grapes, is that right?
Oh, yes.
Now, what have you eaten today? Have you eaten anything?
Yes. I had a jelly with fruit in it.
Jelly with fruit for breakfast?
For breakfast. And I've had a piece of brown bread, best butter on, you might know. And,
Yeah. What have you got planned for supper tonight?
Well, I had a tin of soup for my dinner.
Right.
No.
You mentioned Meals on Wheels once yesterday.
No.
Would you do this?
No.
Why not?
I don't like Meals on Wheels. I don't want a lot of fuss.
Yeah.
And I told you that yesterday.
Yeah.
I like my own independence.
Yeah.
That's why I will not have a cleaner or anybody
Yeah.
to do a lot for me. But it's more company than anything.
Okay.
And I feel great when I've got company and that.
I'm offering to help.
You?
Okay.
Yes.
And there's a person who lives on this street that would like to meet you. Is that right?
Yes.
I'll swap you for... look, you do that for me and I'll give you the grapes and the biscuits.
Thank you very much.
Is that a deal?
Oh, that's a deal, oh yes.
Having met somebody like Dorothy, I can really see it in my grandparents, what they were like, how it can be really cruel sometimes when you get older and how holding on for that last bit of independence is so crucial and how difficult it is to ask people for help. And it's almost... You don't want to ask people for help because you put this pretense that everything's fine when really it clearly isn't fine. And it's not until you sort of get beyond the persona, the front, where you actually realise how much help often the elderly really need.
If you're older and you lose your independence, the fear that you'll never get that back again is huge. So if I can hold on to my home, if I can at least have this place where I'm the most important person in it, but if I go out and need support and end up in care, I may never get back to my own home. And suddenly control and choices will be taken over by other people.
Fear of losing independence inevitably preys on the minds of lots of elderly people. One of the ways to prolong self-reliance and well-being is by maintaining a healthy diet.
Is there anything an elderly person needs an increase of, more of?
Yes, one of the things that elderly people do need a bit more of is protein, meat, fish, cheese, eggs, beans, pulses, lentils, nuts, those sorts of things.
So why protein?
They need more protein because they also have muscle loss. It's something that unfortunately happens to most of us as we get older. Losing muscle mass reduces your strength and mobility, and that can be a huge issue for people in terms of keeping their independence and actually sort of looking after themselves.
Dorothy would really benefit from a better diet to keep her strong. But with her eyesight failing, she struggles to cook for herself.
You've got to admire her determination. I guess the answer is having a few people round just to keep an eye on her.
And that answer may be on a doorstep, which is something that Peter Stewart from the Big Lunch Initiative is convinced makes neighbourhoods thrive.
Peter, tell me about the Big Lunch.
Big Lunch is a day every year in the first weekend in June where people sit down and have lunch with their neighbours on a mass scale. And we just thought, what would it feel like if you could actually stop the whole country for 4 hours? Don't give them a reason, but just what would that feel like? This year, we just had just short of 5 million people take part. So it's really that is a significant number of people. But the important thing is that we then went in and then we talked to the people who participated. And yes, they had fun. Yes, they came out with the bunting and the cupcakes, but they all came back with incredible statistics about saying over 90% of people said they felt happier, they felt safer. Over 60% people said that they felt less isolated. And all of a sudden, they used phrases like, we don't live in a house anymore, we live in a neighbourhood. something really, really serious was moving on in terms of a mass social action.
It's kind of the idea that I'm getting at the moment, to get communities together just to have a conversation. I think it's very similar to what the big lunch is, really.
Exactly.
If there's food there, then great. If there isn't,
it isn't.
But it's just conversation.
It's just conversation. We did some research back in the spring with about 2,000 people, and we got them to talk about chatting neighbourhoods. And amazingly, over 50% of the people hadn't actually spoken to one neighbour in their entire life that they've been there. Now, something is fundamentally wrong there, because actually when they do, over 30–40% actually feel it's brightened up their day, but it has a huge impact on the person who they've spoken to. And if you've got someone within your community, that conversation, that only one conversation that might happen in a day, might be the only time that they speak for the whole of that day.
It's 4 o'clock, the cakes are laid out, the sandwiches have been made, and everything is coming together.
Well, people have started to arrive already. We've got bunting up, we've got food, and we've got Pauline. Hey, Pauline.
Hey, Dave, you all right?
Yes, Jim's been busy.
Oh, yeah, it's very busy. I've got a job for you now.
Come on, darling.
Can you help move that table?
Yeah, of course I will.
Thank you.
When was the last time we had a street party here?
The last time was the Jubilee. So are we ready for the people? Because this is what it's all about, people.
It is all about people.
And the community.
It really looks like Dave and Pauline have pulled it off. People are turning up and chatting. Everyone's packed into the community centre and the street outside. The only thing left is for Dave to officially open the event.
Well, welcome everybody to our street party. Wouldn't it be lovely if this happened more often? Things have changed around this area. Well, they haven't changed that much, you know, and it's lovely to see everybody here, sit down, have a bit of nice food, a good chat, and meet your neighbours and meet your community. There's not much can be better, but thank you so much. So get stuck in.
As everyone tucks into their food, I need to make introductions. Now, Rosie, you work with Age UK.
Yeah, that's right, here in Barrow.
Tell me about what they do.
So the kind of things that we do, especially the project that I work in, it's called the Respectability Project. So we do various different activities, but one of the main things we do is cooking at the centre.
Well, I've got the prime person for you. He's very, very proud.
Brilliant.
It's called Brian. I want you to have a chat with him
problem.
and see if we can get him involved in a cooking class at least, or just
definitely.
something. All right?
Definitely, I'd be happy to do that.
Good. Brian, this is Rosie. I want you to meet Rosie. Have a seat there, Rosie.
Hi, Brian.
She's going to have a chat to you about certain things that maybe have helped you. All right? Is that right?
So, Brian, I'm from Age UK, and what we do there is we do cooking classes, cooking on a budget and cooking for one, and really easy but healthy recipes that aren't going to break the bank, really.
Yeah.
And we do that with you as well.
Yeah, well, judging from the way I was with James this morning, I need some lessons in cookery.
It's not just Brian who is meeting new people.
Well, we haven't met. No, we live in the same street, but we haven't met.
And you've got 7 kids?
And I've got 7 kids.
And I've got 1.
And he's got 1.
Hello, Mindy. Hi, Gordon.
Hello.
So what do you reckon?
At least it's not rain.
Oh, it's good. Everybody's sitting around chattering and talking.
Everybody seems happy.
It's like the old days, isn't it?
It's like the old times, yeah.
Right.
I'm convinced whether through national organisations
Will you do a thing called the Big Lunch?
Yes.
And
or smaller local groups.
I have organised neighbourhood watches around the town, so if you're ever interested.
Oh, brilliant.
Getting people talking can only be a good thing.
Wendy, Nikki, with me. These two gentlemen are musicians.
Hi.
Hello.
All right. Paul, would you be interested in doing some volunteering with us, with our young people?
Absolutely, yeah. Play guitar, sing, teach children, or any ages really, how to play. That's going to get people together, community music, definitely. 100%.
That'd be good. That'd be excellent.
All right. Can you hear everybody? All right.
And finally, the guest of honour makes her entrance.
Not sit down yet. Now sit down. You've got Pauline in front of you. All right.
And I think you might know that you know me.
Hey?
That's what I just said.
I do know you from years ago.
Do you remember when she was a dancer? Or not?
Yes.
Was she? Hey?
She was good and all.
Yeah, she was good. Still is, I bet. Anyway, you've already started already, so I'm going to leave you two in peace, and I'll catch up with you in a minute.
Right.
All right.
There's nothing left to do but leave those two at it.
Yeah.
And even Brian has come out of his shell.
Have you come on your own?
I'll chauffeur here.
Oh, you are a select guest, aren't you?
I didn't know what was going to happen at all. As it happens, I've enjoyed it. And it got me out of myself, out of my house at any rate, and got me all socialised.
Well, Dad was like that. My dad used to sit in and watch television 24 hours a day, and he used to get a bit fed up.
You look fine.
It seems Pauline isn't the only person who remembers Dorothy.
Young lady coming through.
Friends she's lost contact with over time are keen to be reacquainted for a good natter.
Right, Betty, I've got a lady coming to see you. Very, very well. I'm going to try and get her to come in the community centre so that she feels wanted.
You're looking good. I don't feel too bad, but I'm not.
You're not fit for running yet.
Well, I'm entering next year,
like me.
I've had a lovely time, yes. And I've met my friends. These two, I've always been friends with them. Really great. We've had some fun, haven't we? And in the last few days, I'm not kidding you, I've been on top of the world. I have really, and I've enjoyed it all.
No, my tipple's Baileys.
It's amazing what you can achieve just through conversation. If this is the very, very start of it, yes, you know, even if two people are still talking after today, already, Dorothy, she's in there and she's chatting away to two of her friends.
But I do like her.
One of the lads there, you know, he's a musician, he's a guitarist, and the girls from this centre have asked him, can you come and teach the kids to play guitar? He said, yeah, of course. And you don't know where that could end up. And, you know, you knock on a few doors. Maybe these days people need just that little bit of an invitation, just that little bit of a push.
So did I see somebody with some bagpipes here earlier?
Yes!
Yeah. This is what happens when you let a hairy biker loose onto the street.
The aim for today is to create a lasting impact here, and it's looking good so far. Just before the bagpipes start up again, though, I think it's time for me to leave. The following week, Brian made his first trip to his cookery class.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Brian. You ready to do some cooking? Yeah. Brilliant. I'll take you through now to go and meet them. Hi, everyone. This is Brian, who's going to be joining the group. There we go.
I'm not a good truster of people, but they seem to be well-intentioned, and I'll go along with what their suggestions from now on, and take what help there is, and be grateful for it.
There and just
Yes. Yeah.
We'll just create a nice little pile in there, which you can then
The cooking which would presumably help me physically, and mentally being with people can't be bad, and that should help me.
Surprising how much comes out of it, isn't it?
I always think of myself as being a bit shy, but I need a bit of a push into society, and that's that's been happening to me. I felt a bit shaky at first, but it's been a positive experience. I liked it.
So you're going to be making this for yourself at home, are you?
Oh, that's the idea, yeah. I should be, well, I certainly tried to think about making a fish pie at home. I've got a recipe and so there's no excuse. Yes, oh yes, that's real food. Nice. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Well, I mashed the potatoes.
Made a very good job of it.
But it's not just Brian who's embraced a change in life. Dorothy now has an open invitation to go to the community centre to see her friends whenever she chooses.
Just give me your stick.
Oh, it was lovely to see them. I said, I hadn't seen them for a year. I'm thinking, now, what's that bedroom? I can't see the colour of it and anything. I thought it could be half the tablecloth.
Now we know who Dorothy is, we'll be getting her involved in a lot more things. She's got to be one of the crew. And hopefully we can get her involved in all the events, like our Christmas bingo party. Dorothy would fit in well with a lot of us. She won't be left on her own no more. She is absolutely wonderful.
He's thinking of getting a pair of binoculars.
I don't need to get them, I've got a pair up there.
It's made me feel an awful lot better. We just have a giggle and that makes it. Walked all the way around, gets in the side without the steering wheel.
I've got to be honest, I've learnt a lot in Barrow. Sometimes the odd meal or two, a little bit of conversation can bring a spark back into people's lives.
I couldn't wish for a nicer time.
If you yourself are feeling lonely or want to get involved in helping people who feel isolated, you can find all the contact details on our programme website, bbc.co.uk/action line, or get a pen ready for the helpline number at the end of the programme. There are organisations near you who can help tackle loneliness, and plenty of opportunities to volunteer and help others. But small things can make a huge difference too. Why not take more interest in the people who live on your street and keep an eye out for them? Next time on Operation Meet the Street, Dom Littlewood takes me back to the street in Southend where he was actually born.
It hasn't changed much, I can tell you that.
I meet a man with hidden talents and discover the locals have plenty to talk about, given the chance.
Never met. No, never met one another. I can remember he was 10. I can't remember he was 10.
Tell you what, I can't remember what I did last night.
Cheeky little boy.
Oh, time for me to go.